Please listen to the disclaimer at the end of this podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to our latest episode of Cafecito, Our Stories, an NAA podcast. I am your host, Gerson Guzman. My day job is managing partner at Saba Capital Partners, a lower middle market private equity firm. But my full-time job is taking on projects like this for the New America Alliance because I just am convinced in the mission of the organization. The NAA was founded in 1999 and in the past 26 years has become a leading advocacy organization for Latino and diverse managers, really based on the mission that American success is based on American Latino success. And by advocating for initiatives like access to capital, we will lift all boats for all diverse communities. And so through this podcast, we want to tell the personal and professional journey of our members and extended members of the alternative investment community that we interact with on a regular basis. And today, for our Cafecito, I have Jessie Gabriel.
Hi there.
Who is the founder and very accomplished attorney behind All Places. You started your own firm. We'll get to that, but I want to go back in time. Tell us your personal history.
So I was born in Long Beach, California. For those of you who don't know, you're speaking to two Southern Californians
That's right.
here, sitting in a rainy studio here in New York City today. Born in Southern California in Long Beach, to Stephen Richard Gabriel and Kathleen Ann McCool. I'm the younger of two siblings. I have an older sister, Willow. And what do I say next? What do you want me to say next?
You grew up in Southern California.
Yeah.
I immigrated to Southern California. We've established we're about the same age.
48.
Thank you for calling that out. I was trying to keep that a secret.
There's no shame. Only celebration as we get older.
All right. It's a celebration
Yes.
then. But you grew up in LA.
Yeah.
And along the way, you ended up on the East Coast through a career in law, but you started in economics.
I did.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I was in Southern California for 17 years. I think my mom was really hopeful that I would stay in California. You know, we toured the UCs, we went up to Stanford, and for whatever reason, I felt compelled to go all the way across the country.
You chose Dartmouth instead of the UC system, one of the greatest college systems in the world.
Obviously, that was a mistake. Obviously,
thank you for acknowledging that.
That was a mistake. Despite that, so when I was in school, I didn't, I don't know, probably other people can relate to this, but, you go to college, you're like child. How can you decide what you actually want to do? So I just took a bunch of different things. I really enjoyed economics. I really liked math. So I decided to major in econ, having no idea what to do with that. Okay. Came out of college, decided, again, child idiot. What do you do with an econ degree? You move to DC.
As one does.
And I got a job doing economic consulting where I was essentially a glorified computer programmer. And then I worked at a think tank for a couple of years doing econ research and decided I did not want to be an economist.
Okay. And that became the leap into law?
The leap into law was my best friend at the time, still my best friend now, Carrie. She was a lawyer. We were very much alike. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but law school sounded fun.
Okay.
And so I went to law school. No lawyers in my family.
All right.
And no pressure from my family to go in any particular direction. Okay. How did you end up in finance?
That's a long story, but it was when I did a career in consulting, ended up at business school, and I described to someone what I wanted to do, which was go buy a company and borrow some money, maybe raise some equity on the side. And he said, "Oh, you want to do private equity?" And from an immigrant background, had no idea what that was. So I wrote it down.
Same, yeah.
And then just went and researched it. I was like, wow, there's an entire industry that does this. And here I am. But
and then
that
somebody
was
hired you.
And then someone along the way hired me. Exactly. Which, by the way, I should disclose, I'm not only the host of the podcast and the interviewer here, but I'm also a client. You helped get Saba, established, got the organization papers in there.
Which was a pleasure, obviously a real privilege. Yeah. It's a real privilege whenever anybody trusts us to help them create or grow their businesses. Also appreciate age-wise that we both know the reference to the Hair Club for Men.
Ouch. Yeah.
What? Right?
Is that a
right?
reference?
It is not.
I'm trusting the editor here can fill it in with
Take
some
that out.
AI magic. All right. So, successful career in law. Somehow along the way, you became a fund formation expert. How did you end up on that particular path of the legal profession?
Yeah, it was a little surprising. I mean, I was always drawn to securities because of my econ background and because I'm a somewhat rare lawyer who really likes math.
Okay.
And that was an area that, I don't know, it just worked for me.
Yeah.
And but I started off as a litigator, doing disputes in the securities world, representing companies,
You're so
boards.
shy. I can't see you knocking heads.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Thank you. I actually hated litigation for the most part.
Okay.
It's miserable.
The adversarial aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look a little, sauce, spicy banter. I'm all in.
I'm scared.
I'm all in for that. But people, when they're going through litigation, are really unhappy, right? Yeah. It's just, and people are mean.
Yeah, they're stressed. They're angry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And they're never. It's not a value add proposition, right?
Okay.
But intellectually, it was really interesting. And the second firm I worked at led most of the litigation around the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme.
Okay.
This is kind of a strange
A lot of happy people.
A lot of happy people. But what we were doing was actually the good stuff, which was going out there and trying to bring the money from the bad actors back into the estate so it could be distributed out to victims. So it was really important work. Yeah. But that is how I got acquainted with asset management. Because his organization and most of his large clients were asset managers. Right. So, like you, I don't have an immigrant background, but definitely a lower middle class background. I'd never heard. I didn't know what venture capital was, private equity. I didn't know what any of hedge funds. Didn't know what any of these things were. So, started getting more familiar with them through that process, and then started building my community in asset management.
Okay.
And that got me, no law is rocket science. You can kind of pick up something new really anytime. But that's why I got interested in it and started doing it.
There you go. And then around the pandemic, you said, it's time for me to become an entrepreneur. So,
yeah, I mean, I was about to do a double, middle finger. That's what, you can edit that out too.
No, we're leaving that one in, but please continue.
So this is actually the story you hear, I hear from a lot of our peers who are entrepreneurs, right? Particularly the ones you came up in a big corporate environment, you went through this traditional path, and you hit a certain point where you thought, and a lot of people think, oh, I don't think this is for me. I think when I was in big law, I had become an equity partner. I was leading my own practice group, right? This was the pinnacle, the ultimate.
Yeah, that's how I met you. You hosted an NAA event, and we walked in, and there was this very accomplished female attorney
leading our funds practice. And there are benefits to working in a big law firm because the reason we could host these NAA events because we had big office space and we had a budget and all these things.
Well, you're looking for new office space, so we're still going to come crashing and visiting.
Hey,
just
the
letting you know.
office space will be there. It will, but it will be very chic. So it just didn't, as a lawyer in that model, in this billable hour drive model, it's not very enjoyable. I never felt fully aligned, and I didn't feel like I had a lot to say in the culture of the firm, even though I was an equity partner.
It's a big firm.
It's big.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of put your finger or your own imprint on it.
Right. And then on the client side, my client, when we had frank conversations, they didn't like the culture or the environment or the model either, right? Nobody likes getting their bill at the end of the month, not knowing what it's going to be, not knowing who's really working on their case, feeling like they're being handed off between different lawyers. And and
I talked to the partner, and then all of a sudden the associate's doing all the work.
Right, and then I talk to the associate, but they don't really know what they're doing. Right. And then I talk to the partner again, and now I'm being billed by 4 different people. Right. I don't even recognize the names on this invoice.
Excuse me while I curl up in a ball with PTSD.
Everybody's had these experiences, right? Everybody's had these experiences. So I was at a dinner in July of 2019. So I was here in New York, pre-pandemic. And I'd been building this community of women asset managers, which was important to me because, business development was important.
Yep.
And this segment really interested me because as I met a couple of women running funds, I started looking into the data a little bit, and the data for when it comes to women and people of color managing money is just it's the pits.
Yeah, I mean, look, we always cite the Knight Foundation study, right? Under 2% is managed by diverse communities, including women.
Women or people of color.
Right. And women are 50% of the population.
And diverse communities are over a third of the population.
Right. And you're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what inspired you.
So I was at this dinner, and I was sitting there at this dinner. It had been kind of years in the making, building up this Rolodex in this community, and this was a big event for me. And a week before the dinner, my dad died.
I'm sorry for your loss.
That was like years ago now. It's still emotional. And I thought, oh gosh, just can't do this dinner, right? How am I going to hold it together? And I decided to do it. My dad was actually my biggest business support. He was a small business consultant, so we always talked about business. And so I went ahead and did it. I didn't tell anyone, right? Because I didn't want to be sobbing my way through this dinner. I was trying to be a professional. And at that dinner, we were sitting around and talking about how we can support one another. And one of the women at the table said, Jessie, what you can do for us is you can start your own firm. Because we're all women entrepreneurs. We want to work with other women entrepreneurs. And there aren't any women-owned firms out there who are doing this type of work.
Awesome.
And then a few other women chimed in. They're like, you should do it. You are an entrepreneur. You can do it. And of course, at the time, I could barely do anything. Do anything. But it just stuck. And then I couldn't stop thinking about it. And
you got that worm. It started burrowing.
It started, right? You just couldn't stop thinking about it. My husband had been encouraging me to do it for years.
Okay.
So he believed in me before I believed in myself. But also, I came from a lot of financial instability.
Right.
So the idea of leaving this very nice, comfortable, big law partner position in favor of a role where, as you know...
Again, I'm going to curl up in a ball
as
here
you know,
with trauma.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no certainty of any cash flow, right? Particularly as you build a team or if you build a fund. I mean, it's even worse because it's so long.
Requirements,
right? It's so long. So it was a lot for me to accept and digest and start to get comfortable with. But I just couldn't stop thinking about it.
When did you hang up the shingle?
October 5th, 2020.
So decision made pre-pandemic. A lot of emotions happening around your dad's passing. Pandemic hits, and you still have the conviction that you're going to do this.
Yes, and not as a COVID celebrator, but there was something about that time, about all of us being at home and having a little more flexibility in some ways, having a shift of perspective that made it a little easier because I was at home all day, so I could wake up early, start working on the business. My business coach, who was actually my dad's best friend, she gave me this great piece of advice, which was start putting together a list of all the things that you need to do to launch this business and just do first thing in the morning every day. It was like some of the best business advice I got. So each morning I'd wake up early, I'd mark my 2 things off, I'd go about my regular big law work day, and then in the evening I'd come back to it or on the weekends. And again, being someone who was pretty risk averse in this process, I wanted to be as prepared as possible when I launched. And that got me to that place. You're never going to be perfectly prepared, as you know, because you never know what's going to happen.
Well, Mike Tyson was right. We all have a plan until we get punched in the face.
Until you get punched in the face, right? And as an entrepreneur, you get punched in the face on the regular.
Every day.
Right.
Every day on the hour. All right. So you launched All Places. Again, website will be up for everyone to visit. New model for legal services, mission driven. Dig into those 2 areas.
This is the great thing about being an entrepreneur, particularly when you're working in a very traditional, slow-moving industry. You think, okay, if I'm going to launch my own thing, I create it out of nothing. You can make it anything. So the two things that really mattered to me when I started were, these are all the things I hate about big law.
Mm-hmm.
So how are the ways I can create a firm that's different than that in key ways? And then the second thing was, I really wanted to support women who were managing money or who were raising money or who were building really high impact businesses, because I truly believe that the asset management community, this industry, which we don't talk about enough when we're talking about impact, having greater equity in this industry would arguably be the most impactful thing we could do for cultural equity in this country.
Absolutely. I mean, we always cite access to capital being the last part of the civil rights movement.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep, exactly. And it's much easier for most people to talk about equity in the world of philanthropy.
Yep.
Right? And helping build kind of small businesses and, but really what we also need is we need diversity the whole way, right? We need diversity on the billionaires list, and we need diversity when it comes to small businesses.
Yep.
We need the whole spectrum. So for me, legal is actually a really critical part of the development of any business, right? A company that has great legal support, we could talk about what that means, is much more likely to be successful than a company that is getting bad legal support or more limited, or they're afraid to talk to their lawyers, things like that. Because lawyers can provide protection, but they can also provide creativity, like help you, right? As you know the outcome you want.
It's risk management and structuring for growth.
Exactly. It's both of those things. Yep. So that was the piece that I wanted to bring. Great. So we want to support this community. We want women managing more money. What can we do as incredible lawyers to do that? And so that was it. It's a better model, mission-driven.
Awesome. And look, I think what's often missed in these conversations is when you come from those different backgrounds, you end up having a different perspective and are more open to selecting female entrepreneurs or female executives or diverse executives as well. And so empowering those female managers is making a big difference, not just in getting them off the ground, but in the decisions and how that capital trickles down.
Yeah, agreed.
So, all right, agreed. Excellent.
So, the only other thing I'll say is that, while we work with men and women,
I am a client, so
we've
established
that.
That's right.
All right. We have. Thank you. People ask me frequently, because we're mission driven and we talk a lot about working with women. Do men and women need different legal services? And the answer is obviously no. Right? So great legal support looks the same for both. But there are some things about working with lawyers that disproportionately impact women, like the negative aspects, which is really about women are more likely to get talked down to. Right? They're more likely to get dismissed, handed off to a junior lawyer, which makes them less likely to reach out and ask for support, less likely to get great support, right? So those are things that everyone should get from their lawyer, right? I'm sorry, everyone should not get from their lawyer, but that disproportionately impact women.
No.
Yeah.
Excellent point. And look, I have a young daughter, and
who's a movie star.
Let's not get crazy. She's going to be watching this podcast, and she's already judging me.
You're a movie star.
But the point I was going to make is just trying to raise her with a mindset of not being talked down to. And look, as an immigrant father, right, you want to go to that natural state where you're, being very rigid, but you're saying, no, that's not the world she's going to be coming into. So kudos to you. About what percentage of your clients, how do you think about is it majority female?
Yeah, about 95% of our clients have at least one female founder, and almost half of our clients have at least one founder of color.
Okay.
And that is, again, not because we only work with women, but we try to be really out there to say, we want to work with you. We were made with you in mind, which distinguishes us from the entire AmLaw 100, which was literally made with men in mind, because that's when how these firms were created. But we've created an environment that feels, at least based on who our clients are, very inclusive, which I take a lot of pride in.
kudos to what you do and everything that you're contributing to the broader community, which I want to use that as an opportunity to talk about the NAA.
Let's talk about the NAA.
Because we met you at that event, and somewhere along the way, you became general counsel and also a member of the board. Tell me, what drew you to the organization, and why have you remained involved in just contributing so much to everything that we do?
When I was at my previous firm, one of my clients said, there's this woman, you have to meet her. And I said, okay, because if a client or an investor, right, tells you to meet someone, you say yes. And it was Danielle Beyer.
Ah, Danielle.
And so I set up the meeting with Danielle, and I did my diligence ahead of time. What am I going to get out of this meeting? What are we going to talk about?
This was pre-AI,
Real
work.
Yes. Google. It was a Google situation.
Yeah.
And I looked up the NAA, and I honestly thought, okay, what is she going to want to talk to me about? I'm not a Latina. They are Latino focused. But here we are. We're going to have this meeting. And so we just had this great conversation about asset management and diversity. We talked about the Latino community, but we talked about women. We talked about other people of color, right? All of these groups that are underrepresented in asset management. And I just really believed in her as she spoke about the mission and the history, which is really incredible, the history of the NAA. At that time, I was at my previous firm. I was head of the funds practice. I had some budget. So, and we had office space. So I had my firm join the NAA as become a member. We hosted some events for the NAA at my previous firm. And I was drawn to the community, the mission and the community. It was a very inclusive community. And it was very clear to me that the NAA is about the Latino community, which is critical. And it's inclusive.
Or you're a member of La Familia. So,
gracias.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I want to know, what advice do you give new managers when they come to you like crazy me and say, hey, I'm going to make a run at this. I'm going to start my own firm. What does the sage say?
Am I the sage in this scenario?
You are the sage. Okay. You are the sage.
I can speak to this a lot more thoughtfully now, being an entrepreneur myself, than I could before.
Yeah.
Because my advice for a potential new manager is the same as my advice for any potential new entrepreneur, which is you have to have incredible conviction. And you need to be open to falling in love with sales and marketing. That is it. Because on the conviction piece, it's not going to work if you just want to start a business, or you just think, oh, it'd be cool if I launched a venture capital fund, because you need to have such incredible conviction that you have to take that idea out there and convince all these stakeholders to get on board with you, whether it's your team, whether it's investors, whether it's customers, right? Whether it's portfolio company founders, whether it's your LPs, you have to convince them. And if you don't have deep conviction in what you're selling. I mean, it's hard enough when you do have deep conviction. And then what you are doing is you are selling. You are selling to your team, you're selling to your customers, you're selling, You're selling to the news community, right? You are selling. So at least as lawyers, I think we were kind of quietly taught that sales is beneath us, right? It's kind of low.
Until they tell you got to go bring in some new clients.
It's kind of low class to be selling. We don't do that. No. People come to us. And then you make partner, right? Like you said, and then say, okay, so where's your book of business? You're like, oh, I don't know how to do sales. They're like, well, good luck. And so now I've fallen in love. I mean, I'm in a sales school, which I'm obsessed with.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't have to be amazing at sales, but you need to be open.
Yeah, you got to get out there.
Yeah.
All right. So big law in New York. You went back home to LA. I reached out on a whim, and you said, I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to let you tell people why you're here in New York. It has something to do with the UN Assembly. So how do we benefit from having you show up opportunistically here?
So I launched my firm in New York. I moved back to LA 2.5 years ago. And I was out here because on Monday I was asked to speak at one of these events, which they describe, which I didn't know, but describe as UN General Assembly adjacent.
Okay.
So all of these events that kind of happen around the UN General Assembly when all of these incredible people are in town on topics they want to discuss, and it was Climate Week.
Okay.
So I was invited to speak at a small event put on by an organization called the BCIU and the Aries Charitable Foundation, which is the foundation of Aries Asset Management, to speak about underrepresented entrepreneurs and really how we can all support them, what the challenges are, and how we can change that in order to bring up and grow and develop and actually see a difference in the data when it comes to the makeup of companies that are being funded, the makeup of companies that are growing, how many employees they have, all of these things on up. It was really, really fantastic.
Awesome. And that's why I have a 5-page bio on you that I didn't read, and folks go get a chance to look at that. So you're coming to Puerto Rico to close out
obviously. Obviously.
So to close
Por
out...
supuesto, as they
Por
say.
supuesto. Your Spanish is coming along.
I mean, I did grow up in Southern California.
Okay. So we're going to have a little fun here to close out this cafecito, or coffee chat if you need the translation.
Vámonos.
All right. So lightning round here is salsa or bachata?
Salsa.
Okay.
I mean, I've done a little. My husband and I've taken some salsa lessons. So
Ricky Martin or Mark Anthony?
Oh, Ricky Martin. I mean, I still remember those songs. Like, I have
Now,
warm memories.
Are we talking World Cup Ricky Martin or Menudo Ricky Martin?
World Cup Ricky
All
Martin.
All right. So,
but I mean, Menudo Ricky Martin. Now I'm thinking, I should get on my back on the Spotify.
Back on YouTube. Oh yeah, Spotify. All right. So, you're an avid reader. You're an avid.
How do you know that?
Because you shared
You're
this
just
with
assuming?
me. You shared this with me. Recent book you read that you would recommend, and why?
Oh gosh. So the one I always recommend is Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Not a business book, but I'm obsessed with sleep and its impact on quality of life, including
Is
how you
this
run
from
a
a
business.
scientific background or
he's
like
a
a
PhD.
psycho? Okay.
Yeah. 2 recent business books I've read are Measure What Matters, which is all about how you set goals for your team. So we are actually just rolled this out with our team this week. And
Why We Sleep, Measure What Matters. Yeah.
Unreasonable Hospitality, which is actually a book about the creation of 11 Madison Park. So, which doesn't seem on point for us, but we are obsessed with client service. And the whole book is about how you provide an amazing, unforgettable, joyful experience to your customers. And that should be a goal of every business.
All right, close us out. One of your favorite quotes.
Oh, I mean, this is such a softball for me. So the name of our firm is All Places. And it was inspired by a quote from the late Justice Ginsburg, which is, women belong in all places where decisions are being made.
Amen.
And that motivates me and actually still gives me goosebumps every time I say it.
Awesome. Well, my daughter is going to enjoy watching this. Thank you for making it out here. And I am so glad you were out in New York. And I'll see you in Puerto Rico.
I'll see you in Puerto Rico.
Excellent. Everyone, thank you for joining us on today's episode of Cafecito. Please tune in, sign up, follow us, like, make comments. And if you have not already signed up, we look forward to seeing you in San Juan. Hasta el próximo Cafecito. Until then, thank you.
This podcast should not be copied, distributed, published, or reproduced in whole or in part. The information contained in this podcast does not constitute a recommendation from the New America Alliance, the host, or guests to any listener. The terms NAA or New American Alliance may refer to any one or more entities associated with the NAA. Neither the NAA, host, or guests, nor any of their respective affiliates or employers make any representation or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or any information contained in this podcast. This podcast should not be copied, distributed, published, or reproduced in whole or in part. The information contained in this podcast does not constitute a recommendation from the New America Alliance, the host, or guests to any listener. The terms NAA or New American Alliance may refer to any one or more entities associated with the NAA. Neither the NAA, host, or guests, nor any of their respective affiliates or employers make any representation or warranty as to the accuracy or completeness of the statements or any information contained in this podcast.